Hey, Jenee, how are you?
I'm great. How are you? How's everybody doing today?
I'm great. I'm
Great.
great.
We are excited.
Good, good. Okay, well, let's just get this show on the road. Welcome
Mhm.
to the Business of Music Industry panel. We're going virtual this year. We're making sure everybody stays safe, but we're still providing the same great content that we have year after year. You all may have heard, but my name is Jenee Porter. I'll act as one of my hosts for today, but I have a great co-host, Mr. Isaac, who actually was a panelist year one. So, panelists, you have something to look forward to in the future. Like Isaac, you can be a
Yes.
host one day and help me out and run this show. So that's all on me. Grab a snack, grab a drink. If you're an attendee, grab a notepad. We're going to be dropping some gems, and I'll let Isaac introduce himself and start the first panel.
Hey, everybody. My name is Isaac Hamm III, CEO and founder of Hamm III Media LLC. It's a branding and marketing firm. Also, author of two books. One book is called The Brand Is You: 5 Easy Steps to Building a Successful Brand. And then I coupled that with a workbook called The Brand Is You: Changing Your Perception. So I'm about 23 years in the industry, event planning, PR, marketing, branding, entertainment. Like some of the panelists, I see that music and then other things that they tapped into, nonprofit sectors and stuff like that. So this, I feel like we're all one and the same. Sometimes you can be in one area and decide to tap into other ones so you can kind of expand your portfolio. So that's what I've been doing over the last couple of years, is just really seeing what else I'm good at, you know what I mean? Because branding and marketing is the same across the board. So it doesn't matter what industry it's in, it's still your target, the beginning and the end result. So, but yeah, that's pretty much originally from Philadelphia. I now reside in Atlanta. I'm actually in LA. I still just kept my ticket and did everything and just stayed, just like I felt like it was destined for me to be here. So I was like, let me just go ahead and rock out with my plans that I had set forth. So, and I live in Atlanta 7 years. March would be 7 years. So, you know, but that's about it. Oh, I'm continuing on, right?
I'm about to say, yeah, you took my
No,
shine. You took my
you know what?
shine. You came and you swept us off my feet. So you got to start the show. I did my
Well,
part.
no, see, because you a good host, so I enjoyed you 2 years ago when I was there. So I want to follow suit. Can you introduce the panel, and then I'll just start asking questions.
Okay, great.
Tag
And
team
you
this.
ladies, and you could just wave until you want to come off the, because I'm gonna let Isaac run his own show. I'm gonna do what he asked me to do, but I'm gonna let him run his own show. So I'm gonna introduce y'all. Y'all might want to wave, and if y'all want to come off mute and introduce yourselves further than what I'm doing, feel free. So on our marketing and branding and strategic partnership panel, we have Sarah Martinico.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah.
We have Latoya Cooper.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, well, look, you two ladies, y'all, it's y'all show. So I'll let Isaac start, and just looking forward to all the gems that you're going to share with us.
Awesome.
It's nice to meet you guys. How are you?
Good.
Great. Awesome. Excited to be here today.
No, I'm so excited. I love unfortunately, my background is what it is, but I love to see people's background. And I don't know how to do Zoom well enough to do like Sarah has it all blacked out. And, she got the logo. See, that's what I'm
It
talking
took me
about.
20 minutes. It's all good.
Well, it's, to be transparent, I'm using somebody else's laptop. So it's kind of like it works. I just leave it alone, But it's nice to meet you guys, Sarah. Let's start with you, Sarah. So, I was reading your bio, and I see that you worked at BMG, right? So my question to you is, how was it? And then you went into more of the private and the indie artist route with coming from a big machine to working independent with people. So my question to you, how was that transition going from a big machine to independently working with people? Because when you work from a big machine, they have the paperwork, they have the systems in place, right? But then when you become a person who then works with indie artists, you have to start developing new systems, right? And also teaching new systems to people who are unaware. So how was that shift from everything being at your fingertips to then you now creating? Because we get experience, right? So everybody that's watching this that are entrepreneurs, we work somewhere first, right? To understand the blueprint of how to run a successful business, whether we hate our 9 to 5, but you still learn from some. I worked in banking. I learned how to count. I've worked in banking. I learned how to organize and make things make sense, right? Come to an even number. So with you, how was that transition? How was that shift?
Honestly, it was brutal. I feel like our society, forms us to go to corporate immediately, like the 9 to 5. This is what you do when you graduate. You have babies, you get married, whatever the situation. And it was a wake-up call. It was like they're telling you what to do in corporate, and then you have to reinvent your own structure, like you were saying. So it's not even like what you think it is. It's like, okay, redefining your skill set. Who is your audience? And then as you go into like discovering what your business is, you're constantly reevaluating it. So I don't even know how to even start this. It's a huge conversation, but it's like, you discover new avenues of ways to work. So like I started in brand partnerships and marketing, and then I was like, oh crap, I can also do advertising. And, it's like you said, you don't have to just work in music with artists. You can work in music tech. You can work in audio production. So the one thing I always look at is like, it's an ever-changing industry, and you have to be on your feet. You have to pivot. You have to be open to criticism, especially being someone of like a minority, being female. You just have to be able to take it all. There's no one else who's gonna, like in a corporate company, they would field like horrible clients, or have an HR company or PR kind of like fielding. Everything falls on you as like a consultant.
So to piggyback off of what you said in reference to that, a lot of times people say the year 7. I saw Bevy Smith, and she talked about year 7 being the 7 being a number of completion, and this is her in her 7th year. She started flourishing in her business, right? She left corporate and decided to be this independent woman. Today we have Instagram and TikTok and all of these things. So 7 years may then seem like 2 years to the millennials that are, I mean, they say I'm a millennial. I was born in 81. So I'm technically a millennial, but let's talk about the 20 to 30 and unders, right? That are millennials that love TikTok, that love Snapchat, all these things. What did you find your number yet? As far as being successful in what you're doing. And Latoya, you too can answer this question because everybody has a different journey, right? Because everybody's life is completely different. So what was your number that you felt, what year in your industry did you, in your career, did you feel like you have gotten to a success and you have been elevating yourself, financially, branding wise, and all those things?
I think
I
it's
guess that what really made you feel good. Like, I know how to work this in with my eyes closed.
I think, yeah, I know that feeling. It started year 5, but I was still corporate. But if you're talking about like consulting, probably year 2.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think it just depends. And I think social media has like, I don't know, has a portion of my success, but I think it really comes down to networking and what you've done in the past and word of mouth, if that makes sense.
I totally agree with Sarah as well.
+2, but 5 + 2 = 7. So you did hit it in your 7th.
Yeah, 7.
I'm just
Yep.
saying, But Latoya, I'm sorry I cut you off. I'm so sorry.
I was saying I completely agree with Sarah on exactly what she was saying. I came from corporate as well. And one thing I would always complain about in corporate was I felt like they were constantly changing the mission and the vision. And I'm just like, as the employees, how are we supposed to know what we're working on every year? But now as a full-time entrepreneur, I totally get it. Like, as Sarah was saying, you're constantly revamping, pivoting, figuring out what works, continuing with that, figuring out what doesn't work, changing that. And then as industry changes and technology is moving so fast, it's like we're trying to keep up with these certain things. We're constantly having to reevaluate and just accepting that process.
Yeah, look, I have questions written, right? But then as you're talking, I'm like, oh, I have so many questions. So I'm trying not to forget the question. While I'm thinking about it, Latoya, what is your brand's personality?
My brand's personality is life, living out loud, showing up fully, walking in purpose and alignment, and being unapologetic about it. So I tend to attract clients just like that. And it's so interesting because I don't necessarily verbally or put it into the marketing. I tend to attract intellectuals as well. And I consider myself an intellectual and I love intellectual conversation. I'm like, oh my gosh. So my clients, it's like, we just snap, like we just click. I love it. So yes.
And so Sarah, the same question for you. What is your brand's personality?
So I have a consulting company, so it's really about creating relationships and respecting people. So I want to create that old school relationship mentality versus like what you see with like the big labels where they kind of screw artists and producers. It's about transparency and just really uplifting people and giving them the tools to do what they're supposed to do with their business. Because as an artist, you're still a business and people don't realize that. So
Right. So the people that are watching, brand's personality, the definition really is how you feel after dealing with a company, somebody like Sarah, Latoya, or myself, or Jenee, or just off of this panel. So when you leave this, what is that feeling? Like, what are you, so the marketing is good. 2 years ago, I think it was Jenee, what was it, 2019, I think, or 2020? 2020? It was right
It was
before the world.
2019.
2019.
Well, no, it was 2020. Wow. That's
Yeah,
how I can always pinpoint it. Literally, we were scrambling for masks when we were leaving that last panel discussion. So 2020.
Okay, yeah, because I was here again in March, and LA was acting like aliens was coming to get us or something. I don't know. It was a scary experience to get back to Atlanta. But even like in 2020, like this platform, the brand's personality was great because it was clean. You know, the flyers were good. I felt good. I didn't know Michael. I didn't know Jenee. I didn't know nobody. But I said, you know what? I have a place to stay when I come to LA. I'm going to invest in my ticket. He gave me a platform to be able to speak on a panel, a table to sell my merchandise. And then my book wasn't out. My book didn't come out to June of 2020. So the brand's personality was great. So I'm like, when he called me this time and said, I want you to be a moderator, I was like, oh yeah, for sure. And then we also built a great friendship and working relationship. So that the brand's personality has lasted for almost 3 years. So I'm just, I forget that I'm talking to, Sarah and Latoya, and I'm like, wait, it's people watching that may not know what a brand's personality. So I apologize. And any questions, please make sure you ask in the chat for either myself, Jenee's on here, so you could see her if you have a question for her, or Sarah, Latoya. And we talked about, I want to say, Latoya said something about a mission, right, Latoya? So let's talk about a mission statement. How important working with independent or companies do you push for them to understand their mission as a brand?
It is one of the foundational elements of basically success, right? Having a very clear vision, mission, and values, because our values actually protect the mission and the vision, right? Just like we have things to protect our home, we have elements to protect our friendships and things like that. We've got to protect our business and the direction in which we're moving as a brand and as an entity as well. So those three things are the most important. Also, the team needs to know what the clear vision is, right? Because we need to make sure that we are hiring, we're partnering with the right people who can help us reach that vision. And if everyone is very clear about that, then they can determine, hey, I can help support this mission and this vision, or no, I'm not the right person. Let me move on to another opportunity.
Yeah, and it's so good that you say that, having that open conversation, because I know that I work with clients or friends, right? Because sometimes it's not about the money, it's not about the title calling them a client. You may have time to help elevate somebody to another level that you feel like you want to invest, because everything is not about money when it comes to working with a specific person. Because with friendships and relationships, you value that to where you partner up, because we can work together, Latoya, right now and build something. And the money may not show for another 2 years, another 6 months, but we synergy, because I like your vibe, and Sarah, you as well. It's like, I can do something with her just from your how you showed up, right? Because that's your 7 seconds. I judge you off for the first 7 seconds. People don't realize that you are judged, and people decide on if they want to deal with you or not. But I feel like great partnerships is great in knowing their mission, because I have a friend who's a client. I do her booking, but yet her mission is one way, And what I see for her is maybe this way, but I'm supporting her, but I'm also, one thing, not being a yes man to the situation. I'm expressing how I feel about a certain situation. And she says, okay, cool, I will rock with me going this way. And then she'll deal with that. But then also too, you got to be careful. You don't want messages happening if your client is doing something over here and then you're telling them to do one thing. So that's important too, to make sure that the vision is clear. Sarah, what's your thoughts on that? Making sure clients have a specific thing and that diversity, that vision being split. Have you dealt with any clients like that, to where you're like, wait, you want to do this? I need you over here because that's what you asked me for. It gets very muddy when it comes down to that, and it's unfortunate because it happens to the people that you care about. You don't really know how to say no, dummy, come this way because this don't make sense. So Sarah, how do you handle those situations, or do you walk away? It is okay to walk.
Yeah.
People have to understand it's okay to give people their money back or not accept it, because you're not selling out, but it's your brand's personality. You know what you're going to work with. So Sarah, how do you handle?
I think number one is figuring out if the client is able to change. So I've dealt with artists before who have the ego where they don't want to change because they think what they've done in the past 10 years is basically who they are. And, it's very difficult when someone doesn't trust you. So if they don't trust you with the branding, with marketing and partnerships, et cetera, it's going to cause issues. And then no matter what you do, it's going to be your fault, the client or the person they hired. So I have walked away from clients, but I think it's really important to have an honest conversation. Like, if you're hiring me and I'm working with you, we have to try this to get them to where they need to be. Your job is to get them, whatever it is, partnerships, more success, more touring, booking. So it's a very fine line, but there's nothing wrong with walking away.
Yeah, it's so shifting the gear with the pandemic happening, everybody was affected by it. Everybody on this that's watching, everybody that's on this panel as well. Let's talk about what are some of the pivots that you had to endure through this pandemic? Like, what was some of the things that, so I know for me, when the pandemic happened and everybody was sitting still, I realized that I was lacking certain systems, right? So I'm working on a book. I kind of, you kind of work on stuff at the same time. So it's like that book is being written as well, but it's a book that I'm going to release called The Brand Is You, because I'm keeping it themed, right? So when I publish my books, I can put them all under the same, the Library of Congress, whatever. But if you put the same title, you can copyright them and everything under the same thing. That's another panel. But I had to say to myself, I have to create systems. So a friend of mine was like, "Oh man, what are you doing? You don't have, what's up with your clients and this, that, and the other?" And I was like, I'm good. I'm chilling. I'm taking a pause. And the book that I want to release is called Please Excuse My Ums. So when we're publicly speaking and you say ums, you're supposed to take a pause. So I started developing new systems. So what are some of the systems that you created? I mean, it can be with how you handle phone calls, emails, taking on new clients. What are some of those systems that you put in place?
If I may go ahead and answer this, because I can relate to this 110%. And systems are so important. It's not just about honing the skill, it's about building the business, because the systems really, at the end of the day, is what helps you be successful, right? It helps people get in there, get what they need, have that interaction, that smooth interaction, which is so important. Same thing here. Right now, I'm in a season where I have taken a step back and I am making sure everything is lined up for my next level. I've had a few situations where I went viral several times on TikTok, and I had the phone ringing, the text message, the email, going all at one time. And thank God I was prepared for what was happening, but there were still some things I said, hey, when this happens again, I want this to go even smoother the next time. So I took a step back, incorporated some elements. But as you mentioned, your systems on the back end of how you operate your brand and your business is a huge component.
Yeah, and that's the Oprah effect. Remember, Oprah had her favorite things, and it was a cupcake lady, and she was on the show, and as soon as it went viral, that was back in the day when people actually watched TV, and they started ordering cupcakes from this lady, and she couldn't handle
Wow.
the influx of people, and she had to shut her business down because she didn't have systems in place for going on such a big. I mean, Oprah, you gotta be ready, but people don't have us in their as their branding and marketing people to make sure that they have all those things in place. So it's crazy. And the people that are watching, it's okay to have email addresses. Sometimes you gotta, and I say this light, but fake it till you make it. And when I say that, not be a liar, not be a thief, but create those systems of contact at such and such.com, uh, assistant. I, for the longest time, I had, well, I kind of still do use a alias for a publicist, because sometimes I don't need a publicist 24/7, but I need to be able to present myself and make my business be bigger than what it is, but nobody knows. But then we go back to the system. How are you responding as the contact us person or the alias person for that, or assistant person, right? Because that makes your business bigger, but you have to respond. So the system is, when it comes through. So what I do with my emails, I have a return email thing that say we will get back to you within 24 to 48 hours. Because a lot of times we as entrepreneurs think we have to run, stop what we're doing, stop living life, stop eating whatever we're eating, stop hanging with friends to email somebody back. But I put in the system that I'll get back to you in 24 to 48 hours. That takes stress off of us, me, and it takes stress off of the person waiting, so they know that, okay, I'm not going to keep on emailing him because he said 24 to 48 hours. And now it's until I get into that 49th hour that I'm wrong. I'm in the wrong for it, right? But if I'm going on vacation, then you put that as the return thing. So it's so important. I'm glad you guys understand systems, and because Latoya, you was right on there, like, yeah, I got to do this, because I too, I'm in the season of doing me, right? Because when you've been in the industry as long as we have, you deal with so many people, and you realize, wait, what I'm promoting for you, I could do for myself, right? So now I'm at that season. Have you gotten to that point where you're just like, it's me season, right? Like, it's me, the brand, and then it's the company. Where are you guys at when it comes down to, because sometimes we can put the cart before the horse and put the business out, but we as the individual pushing it are not ready as a brand. So Sarah, where are you at in that transition? Are you already there with the brand is you? And that's my mantra too. So I'm always quick to say the brand is you. Um, there.
I think there was a lot of change during COVID because it was a big wake up call. And I think for me, it started with like my actual health as a person. So just setting up systems for myself, for my mental health, physical was a huge thing. So it's like eating well, going to the gym, getting my finances fixed, and then like everything else started to flow into place. But when it comes to like my consulting brand, I think it's 80% there. I've only been in it for like 2.5 years, but like I said, like it's constantly evolving. So I don't know. I mean, that's a great part of the music industry. Like things evolve. But like I'm always open to suggestions. I don't ever want to say this is what I do and that's it,
I'd like to offer a shameless plug because this is hosted by GlobeVision. Artists and attendees that are listening, and if you need those systems put in place as an artist, GlobeVision offers those services, whether it be email management, brand partnerships, hosting events, like one of the panelists already spoke to, booking you, getting you more exposure. Those are all, this is the business of music. You may be an individual artist, but like we've already spoke to, you're still a business. And so there's things that go on past just recording the music and performing. Taxes, making sure you own your music. So that's my plug. Yes, it's that time, January 31st. You better get your 1099s and your W-2s out to your independent contractor. See, you got to be a part of the team to know these things. So that is a shameless plug, that if you are in need of these things, you don't have to figure it out on your own. Sarah just spoke to it. She's well in her business and she's 80%. It's a work in progress. And so GlobeVision wants to be here. If you're an artist or in the music industry, you need help with those systems, we can help you provide those.
And and I want to congratulate Sarah, because a lot of times people act like they have it together, right? And it is a part of that fake it till you make it, but it's only to the point where you're doing damage and not realizing that you really need those systems in place. So I appreciate the transparency. I need it too. I'm not sitting on this side of the camera thinking I'm perfect, and these millionaires and these First of all, some of these artists and rich people don't even know how they got rich. And I'm not even being shady, because they had people in place to get them to that point, and they just get pushed out onto the platform and speak, talk, and go home. So a lot of times our jobs are important to make those brands look like seamless, you know what I mean? But if you take all of us away from it, they're like, well, what do I do next? How do I answer this call? And they don't know the systems. So it's very important to be as transparent as Sarah and everybody that's on this call. So people that are watching, it's okay to not know. It's okay to Google what are systems. It's okay to figure out what your SWOT analysis is. And for the people that are watching, a SWOT analysis, your strength, weakness, opportunity, and threats that can come upon you as the brand. And we have to think, and I'm sure Sarah, Jenee, and Latoya, you had to start with yourself, right? And get excited about what you want people to believe in. Jenee, since you're on the call, let's just talk about what's going on with your systems. How are your systems? And are you working on your systems, or how was 2020?
2020, it was cool. Had to do what we had to do. And then after that, 2021, I'm not even gonna lie, I didn't have systems. I wasn't in a place myself, and it just all went, it just went away, which, like you said, I'm okay with being transparent about that. But some of the systems, just to give people an idea of what some systems look like: procedures and policies. I have a blog site, if any of y'all don't know, another shameless plug, www.nascentbynay.com. We help millennial women navigate life. Okay. So with that, I asked some other young ladies to join me with that. I can only speak to that so much. So anyways, with that, I have about 4 ladies on my team, and I had to realize, you know what to do, Jenee, but they may not know the process that you may have. So during tech, I had to type up procedures, policies, contracts, because now I'm bringing any other people into my business that have information that I may need to keep near and dear to Nascent by Nay. So those are some of the things we speak about when we're saying systems. Like he said, automatic email, that's a system. Even I invested in another iPad. That's how my systems run. I have everything up running right now. So if I need to answer a text message, technical difficulties, I have that. I have all my questions ready for the panelists on another device. So that's my system and how I can effectively operate as a business owner, a blogger, and a host. Now, I don't want to take up too much of the time. We do have some questions from the audience. If Isaac, ladies, you don't all, mind, we're here for the people.
And before we go into questions, I just want to mention something that's an advantage, right? Like as an artist, it's like, okay, I just want to be an artist. I just want to make music. Yeah. But here's the advantage of learning these systems, learning the business, is that you have brand ownership. Yes, you've got artists who are, like you mentioned, Isaac, on the stage, you're doing their thing, but many of those artists do not own a lot of their name, their brand, their trademarks, or anything. And so this is an advantage of you actually building legacy when you know what's going on in your business and moving forward in that right.
Yes. Now, this question came up around the time you all were speaking about brand personality. It says, can we talk about how important it is with knowing your customer's avatar, whether you be a small business or an individual talent? So Isaac, if you can kind of explain to people what an avatar is, and ladies, if you can help them answer this question.
Well, let's let the ladies answer. Okay. It's for, hold on, let me read the question again, because let me make sure.
It's in the Q&A portal. So
I see it.
We can see questions in the Q&A and the chat. So we're going to go ahead and answer the Q&A first, and then we're going to move to the chat.
Okay, I can't see it. So repeat the question for me. I'm sorry.
Can we talk about how important it is with knowing your customer's avatar? So, this is around the time you all were speaking about brand personality. So, if you can, explain to some people if they don't know what an avatar is. And so, but the question is how important it is knowing your customer's avatar. And y'all kind of touched on it a bit, but I think this is going to help round some things out.
Latoya, you want to go?
Absolutely. I'm so glad you asked this question, because if you want to stop running in circles, know who your ideal consumer is. The best way I describe it is this: who do you want to experience every day? who do you get joy out of interacting and experiencing, and you want to connect with, serve through whatever you're doing, your art, your music, your brand, your business, what have you. And you create an avatar, basically a person, one person, right? So let's take Isaac, right? Let's say that Isaac is, our avatar, our ideal consumer. We will determine, what does Isaac like? What is he interested in? What is his challenges? What is his targets? And you list all these different things and you incorporate that. There's so many different elements to it. That's another thing. We need to talk about branding and how people put branding in one box, but there's layers to it. But anyway, it's how you determine what colors to pick, what language to use when you're having conversation, how you determine your imagery and things like that. So I'll stop it there, because Sarah's the expert on this, but I get heated on this one because this is so important.
I'm not the expert. I was learning from you.
No, not me.
I don't do branding as much as you do. So
okay.
But see, that goes to the point of it. It's so many facets of marketing and branding. It can't all be boxed in. It can't.
It can't.
So to answer, to also add to Latoya, it's also too, when it comes down to the brand. So some people on here may have an office space or a brick and mortar, like a full building, or just, virtual or whatever. But what is that, even with that brand's personality, like when you walk into in a room, you go to certain hotels, you stay at the hotel because it smells like a specific thing, right? You go somewhere and it's, what is the DoubleTree in Philly? They have cookies. So people go in there, they stay there because they want cookies, or they may randomly go in there. But once you're in there, you're like, this is nice, I should stay here. Oh, we have running a special. It's like simple stuff. I've had clients that have had salons, and I'm like, and I tell them, put a dog bowl outside, right? Because you'll have a random person. The dog is always going to be thirsty, always going to want to know what's in that bowl. But that's how you can get the people to have a conversation with you. Stop, see what you're doing. Put a sign out there so while the dog is licking the water, you can see a buy one get one free, or step inside, let me tell you how. And then that may motivate the people to come into their into the establishment. And we also just, Jenee, you kind of hit on layers of branding and marketing. And I love this friendly argument when it comes down to branding. We made this word an occupation, right? We made the word branding a job title. And I always look at it as marketing, not branding as the job title, right? You have marketing, advertisement, and PR. So I always tell, I look at branding as, what is your brand? If I drink coffee every day, what type of coffee am I drinking? Am I always at a cafe when you see me, and this and other, right? And then we break it down, and the marketing is, where am I going to drink this coffee?
Exactly.
Right? Where am I going to drink this coffee? What neighborhood am I in? Right? If you take Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts, people go to Starbucks so they can sit, be entrepreneurs, be business people, do deals. The hip hop community go to the strip clubs, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's a place, it's a time and a place for everything. Sometimes it may start at Starbucks, but then let's meet me at the club so I can go ahead and sign the contract type of thing. But it's about, your brand is how you are having people to perceive you.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people get branding as an occupation. That's not really a job title. It's a part of creating. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, right. So and that could be a conversation for another time, because some people.
Well, we do actually have one question around that. That's going to help us wrap up this panel discussion, guys. It says rebranding, new vision, etc. They notice this over time when you start a brand. Let me go back, because Julian, I do not want to get your words misconstrued. It says, when you start a brand, I notice it always shapes over time, rebranding, new vision, etc. As it changes with your audience, how do you keep the brand true to yourself?
By staying true to yourself. And I tell people, when it's time to rebrand, because you're constantly branding, but the rebrand comes when you make that announcement to your audience that you are going to rebrand. When you first start off, you just make sure that you're never narrow-minded to one thing, right? Because you always have to allow people to know that there's a possibility for us to change. You see it every day. Somebody may say something on social media, and then they come back and they apologize. But we have to allow ourselves to be able to have that, mess up, that hiccup. So to answer that question, it's always make sure that you keep yourself exposed for change, right? Never seem like you're not going to be for change, because like how Latoya and Sarah, how we all agree with the industry changing, with the world changing, we didn't think we was going to be wearing masks, right? So now the rebranding may have to, your rebranding can be as simple as, if you sold t-shirts, your rebranding has to be as simple as creating masks, right? Or if you have a business and you have your mask at your front door, does it have your your name on it? Does it have the business company name on it? What kind of mask is it? That's rebranding. It's not changing your mission statement, but it's rebranding how people interact. You got to have vaccination cards in certain cities. That's still rebranding. It's not necessarily changing the name of your company or determining who you're going to work with. Those little things is still considered rebranding. Creating systems is rebranding. It's internal rebrand, but it's still a rebrand that maybe the public don't see, but they also know your brand's personalities that's going to keep them safe. So when they come, they're like, I'll go to this place because they have masks, hand sanitizer, keychain things. And that's another part of branding. You put your logo on the keychain that has the hand sanitizer on it, and now they're going. So that's still, to answer that question, it's okay to rebrand. Stay true to yourself. You want to be safe in this pandemic. That's staying true to yourself.
And Isaac, if I can add on to that, is being unapologetic about that, because that's what happens when we're not anchored, right? We get pulled left, we get pulled right, and you're trying to appeal to different people, but you want to stay committed and true to your avatar, to you, to your brand. And to also help with kind of summing up what you were mentioning about people going to different locations for different things, is the brand experience. What experience do you want people to have and take away when they walk away from you? What do you want them to say about you to other people when they walk away, right? And that's what that is about, brand experience, which is really important.
Well, I want to thank you guys. I wish we could talk longer. I was just, notified that our time is coming to an end. I do want to thank you guys, Sarah and Latoya, Jenee, because you wound up becoming a panelist as well.
Latoya, Sarah, we want you to share your information, just so if people want to connect with you after this, I'd like for you to, announce it live, but also please put it in the chat, because I'm pretty sure you're going to get some new friends after this. And after they do that, we're going to, do a little transition, a little 1-2 into the next panel. All right, and we have LatoyaCooper.com if you all want to contact Latoya. Sarah, what about you? How can people get in contact with you after this?
Instagram, Sarah Martinico. I'm going to put in my business.
Okay, great. All right, thank you, ladies. DJ Harmony, let's see what you got, girl.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Latoya.
Yeah, nice meeting you.